So in today's video, we're going to talk about atheism. So we will discuss about what is the definition of an atheist, what arguments they have against the existence of God, and what are my thoughts as a Muslim about the atheist people. So grab some snacks, get yourself comfortable because this video is going to be pretty long. So first we will start what is the definition of an atheist. So you can simply say a person who does not believe in God based on evidence, logic and reasoning is called an atheist. So there are four major arguments that atheist people present against the existence of God. The first one and the most major one is the theory of evolution. The second one is obviously who created God, and the third one is why there is so many religions if God is one, and the fourth one is why there is so much suffering in this world if God exists. So we'll start with the theory of evolution. So theory of evolution is introduced by Charles Darwin. So it's basically state that all the living things on this planet, all the living beings can be traced down to the same ancestor. Every living being on this planet can be traced down to the single origin of life. So you may ask, if we all came from the same living organism, why there's so many kinds of different animal, different living beings? Like a fish is not as similar to a bird, a human is not similar to a horse, like that. So there's a thing called natural selection, which is a way of saying species that adapt and change their habitat over time for survival are the ones who evolve continuously over generations. So the species that living in the water develop fins, and the species that happens to find themselves on soil develop legs, and some species also develop tail and wings to fly. So keep in mind, this all evolution thing didn't happen overnight. It took millions of years. So the theory of evolution does not explain how life begins on Earth, but it does describe how life diversified on Earth. So how life begins on Earth is just a separate field of study. So by representing the theory of evolution, atheist people say, look, it just all happened independently on its own. There is no God involved in this process. So religion is just a fairy tale written by people to entertain each other. It just happened on its own. So obviously all the people don't agree with that theory. So the people who believe in God have some good argument that we are going to discuss. So the first argument is it is just too complicated for a single living organism to evolve into these various type of creatures without the help of an outsider, or in that case God. So this world is so complicated and run by a system of law, so it just can't be a product of randomness, because randomness doesn't create a systematic ecosystem. Randomness doesn't create a male and a female version of a living being to produce more living beings. So it's like saying throwing some copper sheet, carbon fiber sheets, electrical wire, rubber, mirror from the space, and as these things falling from the space, they just decided to become a Boeing 747. So it is less silly than saying that we are the product of randomness, because randomness doesn't create life, it doesn't create anything but chaos. But the atheists still present the Big Bang Theory as the evidence for the not existence of God, because they say it just happened on its own independently. And the second argument is about the human reproductive system. So this phenomenon is so complex that we are still trying to understand it. And this thing, the human reproductive system, raises so many questions that science yet doesn't has the answers. So it's like the people who believe in God say, how it is possible for a thing to create itself on its own and yet not knowing why did he choose to create itself? Like, I didn't create myself, you obviously didn't create yourself, the whole human being didn't create themselves. They didn't get to choose what color they have, what height they get, or anything, what type of intelligence, the IQ they get. They don't have any type of options when it's come to choosing their body. They just appear, they just live as they are. So I am certainly a product of a system that seems like design humans to do certain tasks as per the intended of the curator. So we are certainly a curation. I didn't get to choose what my body, what my body color, what my intelligence would have. I just don't even remember the first 4 years of my life. So we are certainly a creation. We are certainly a product. So the philosophy is that every creation must have a curator. Every creation must have a curator. So it's like you see an interesting chair on a furniture shop, so you go to near that chair and you're just looking to see who made that chair, but there is no information on that chair. So what do you believe is that some guy made that chair and sent to the furniture shop. So you having a belief, you having a faith that someone made that chair, even though you know nothing about that person. So I may ask, your belief, your faith has no evidence. So you simply say, look at that table. The table itself is the biggest evidence that someone curated that, because tables just don't appear on their own. So humans also just don't appear on their own. We certainly a creation, and every creation must have a curator. Our existence is the biggest evidence for the existence of God, because humans just don't appear on its own. It's a pretty complex system and we don't have any control over it. We are just designed to do certain tasks as per the intended of the curator. So by this theory, the people who believe in God say it is just impossible to a thing to convert into a fully functional human being without the help of God. So that's why humans are the only one who are asking the question, who created us and what is the purpose of life. Science gives the answer for the first question, which is we all just came from one single living organism, and over millions of years we diversified from all these creatures that we are seeing right now. So if you think critically, then this whole theory of evolution thing make much more less sense. And for the second question, the science doesn't have the answer, because science doesn't deal with philosophical questions. Science doesn't deal with why questions. I mean, science explains you how things work, like electron moves to negative terminal to the positive terminal, magnets attract metallic things. So science does not explain why it does that, but science explain how it do that. Like science does not explain why electron move to negative terminal to the positive terminal, why magnet have this electromagnetic field, but science explain how it works. So that's why science doesn't have the answer for the second question, which is what is the purpose of life. So that's why philosophy exists. So love, hate, anger, fear, these all things certainly exist, but they don't have physical appearance, they don't have a materialistic existence. So science not gonna help you with that. So if you're having issue with love, hate, fear, anger, so you should go to a therapist, not a scientist. So speaking of philosophers, so they've been moving their heads for thousands of years to come up with the perfect answer of what is the purpose of life, and still they don't have any answers. So what I see here is, if you remove the concept of God, the idea of God, then everything is around you doesn't make any sense. Like why I need to be an honest person, why we tell people to not lie, why we tell people to do charity, why we tell people to respect everyone around them. So all these moral values are directly acquired from religion. So no amount of DNA research can tell you should be honest, you should not lie, you should not harm other people. So if you say there is no evidence to believe in God, then the other statement is going to be also true, which is there is no evidence to believe in morals. Just look around yourself. Every animal on this world lives by their own rules. If they want to harm some other animal, they will do that. We are the only animals, we are the only creature on the planet that behave from a set of moral values. Even the atheists, they follow the moral values, and they say it is a very good thing that we acquired from religion. So they are just telling you that we are going to accept whatever we think we should accept and not the everything. And now I'm going to talk about why I have to say. So, as you may know, I am a Muslim. I believe in Islam. I believe in Quran, the last and final revelation from God to Prophet Muhammad. So, what I understand from studying the both sides argument is that the atheist people have their strongest argument, which is the theory of evolution, and the religious people have their strongest argument about the moral values. So, where do I belong? Where do I stand? I'm going to talk about what Quran says about the theory of evolution. What Quran says, what is the purpose of life, and why we are here, and most importantly, what happens when we die. So before we get into that, we need to understand what type of book Quran actually is. So Quran is a written record of God's commentary on people who did not accept Prophet Muhammad as the prophet of God, as a representative of God, as a messenger of God during his life. And the whole Quran was not revealed at once but gradually over a long time span, because people were asking questions to Prophet Muhammad, then God has to answer those questions and explain those questions. So they are going back and forth. So it almost took 20 years to complete the whole Quran. So when you read the Quran, so Quran is not directly talking to you as a reader, but Quran directly talking to the people of his time, and God also talks in third person. So that's why you see verses like these. Remember Allah's favor upon you and his covenant that he has taken from you when you said, we have listened and obeyed. Fear Allah. Allah is all aware of what lies inside the heart. The reason of that is pretty simple, because God sent revelation through the angel Gabriel to Prophet Muhammad, so it's kind of like a royal edict. And by these words you can understand that Quran has a kind of poetic style of saying things, which will get very important as we read more. So what argument Quran presents to justify Muhammad as a prophet of God? So whenever a person is chosen by God to deliver a message to people, the person would either be a Nabi or a Rasul. So there is a huge difference between Nabi and Rasul. A Nabi only warns the people, a Nabi only delivers the message of God to the people. He says to the people that if they do not obey him and God, then there will be suffering and punishment in the afterlife. Just only that. But when God chooses a Rasul to deliver a message, so the people who do not accept the Rasul as a prophet, if the people do not obey the Rasul, then the suffering happened in this life. Like Noah was a Rasul of God, people did not believe in him, then the flood came and everyone was died who did not believe in the prophet Noah. Prophet Moses came to the Pharaoh and his army. A large amount of people actually believed in him, but the Pharaoh and his army did not believe in him, so they all drowned. So Prophet Muhammad was also a Rasul, so he came to his people and said, look, I am a Rasul. If you do not believe in me, if you do not obey what I am saying to you as a messenger of God, then you will all would be erased from this world and would be placed into hellfire forever. So that is a very big, bold claim. But within 20 years, Makkah, the biggest city on the Arabia, Medina, and all the major parts of the Arabia was conquered by Prophet Muhammad and his companions. The companions of the Prophet Muhammad were not with him because he promised them to provide freedom. They were not with him because he promised them to provide land. They were not with him because he promised them to provide justice. They were with him for the only one reason, that he was the prophet of God. Prophet Muhammad was not a revolutionist. Prophet Muhammad was not an activist. He was just a prophet of God. He spent 40 years completely living normal life. He belongs to a rich family. He was well respected in the community. Then, so after 40 years, Prophet Muhammad just chosen by God as a prophet, and he came to his people and said that, look, you are doing very wrong things when it's come to the religion, when it's come to the morals. All of the Quran is filled with how to be a good person, how to be a great person for other people. There is a very small amount of Quran that actually talks about punishments, law, most of the Quran is most focused on morals. So Prophet Muhammad tried every way to explain the people, and but obviously all the people did not believe him. A very large amount of people did actually believe what he said, but there is also be a very large amount of people who actually did not believe in him. So after 20 years, God said, we have enough of that, and the people who did not believe in the Prophet Muhammad will have to die. So this is the argument that we Muslim present to the world, that look, a 40-year-old man which was living a perfectly normal life, has no previous military experience, was not an activist, not a revolutionist, nothing there, just a normal person who says, look, I have been chosen by God as a prophet, and this will be happen if you did not believe in, and that thing would happen in just 20 years. So this is the argument that we present to justify Muhammad as the prophet. So if you got an idea what Quran is about and what is Prophet Muhammad is saying, so now we can talk about what arguments Quran present and what things Quran say about the origin of human life, why we are here. So Quran actually answers the philosophical question that why we are here. This is the primary topic of Quran, why we are here and what would happen after we die. So this is the primary question of Quran that Quran answers. Quran is not a scientific book, it's a book that says what happened with you after you die. So I'm going to answer the first question, why we are here. So philosophers have been moving their heads for thousands of years without coming with the proper questions. So the answer that Quran present is that God decided to associate with his eternal life with a creation, we humans. So we humans created from nothingness to existence, and now we are going to live eternally forever with God. So whom going to be live with God, whom going to be his paradise. So God created humans to test which one is be more righteous, which one is will be more appropriate to be in the heaven. So God give us free will to do wrong or to do right, and God give us the consciousness of what is wrong and what is right. So we are all here just testing ourselves to behave as good as we can. So and after that, the ones who uses their free will to do more right things will going to be the God's heaven. So a very common question that other people, non-believers or non-Muslim, ask that why is that a Christian or Jew that follow his religion, follow his scriptures carefully, perfectly, he was a good guy, didn't harm anyone, why he will going to suffer in the hell because just he was not Muslim. So Quran tell us in this verse that even if you're a Muslim, if you're a Jew, if you're a Christian or any other religion, the only way you're going to be in the heaven and with God is to be a person who believe in God and do righteous thing, to be basically to be a good person. So I don't know about how much information you have on Prophet Muhammad, how much information you have on Islam to convince you to believe in Islam, but you know what you have. I don't have to judge you. You know what you are knowing and what you are not knowing. So you will and after life you will justify your situation to God, and God obviously is the most merciful. So that is the thing that we need to understand, that we should not judge anyone. The only thing that matter is your relationship with the God. So we talked about why we are here. So what Quran tells about the origin of life. So in chapter 24 verse 45, God says Allah has created every living creature from water, and of them are those that move their bellies, and of them are those that walk on two legs, and of them are those that walk on four. Allah created what he wills. Indeed, Allah is all over things competent. So by this verse we can understand that all the living things, all the living creatures came from water. So this is what actually science says, that we all came from water. And So what about us? So in the other verses, Quran explained that God has created humans from clay, from dust, from soil. So these are the terms that used by Quran to tell the people of his time. So Quran, as I said, is not a scientific book. So Quran uses term to be understand by the people of his time. Talking about 1400 years ago, so Quran used very simple terms to convey the message that humans were just born from soil, from clay, from dust. So Quran explains the two phases of human life. So first phase, when he was in the development of become a human. So as Quran said, we created man from clay, from dust, from soil. So this was the statement of the first phase of human life, when he was evolving to be a human. He was developing legs, hand, brain, all this kind of thing. Then the second phase, where he was able to produce his next generation, so which means the reproductive system. So and then God sent the soul to that animal body, so that would make us the humans. It is also not completely against the science. Science just tells that it's all just happened on its own, where Quran tells us these are the steps that God has decided to do when it's come to creating humans. So now you can get a pretty good idea of what Islam is about, what it says about the theory of evolution, what it says about the human life. So Quran pretty much answer all your philosophical questions. So after that, why do I think about atheism? Why do I think about other religion people? So what I have to say about the atheism is that the atheist people have less about to say about religion, but they have a lot of hate for religion. I mean, they have very less knowledge when it's come to the religion they are talking about. Most of the atheists targeted Christianity, because Christian people don't get an idea what their religion is all about. And Christianity and the Christian books, they have very vague things to talk about. So that's why they target Christianity and just tag them the religion. So I think atheist people, I think the atheist has less knowledge and more hate for the religion, like Richard Dawkins. So he's the hero of modern atheism. But when in interview, when the interviewer asked him if he knows anything about the Islam, so he simply said, I don't know the God of Quran, I don't know about Islam.
On that. Yes, if you've actually read the Old Testament, I think you would have to agree. It's hideous. It's an anti the God of the Old Testament, who is a monster.
But also the God of the Quran, the New Testament, the Hindu scripture?
Well, the God of the Quran, I don't know so much about. The God of the New Testament is widely advertised as being a bit more gentle.
So, modern day atheist hero who wrote a whole book about religion don't know about the second largest religion on the planet. So how could you not study one of the important religion of this world? So I think atheist people have more hate for religion than they have arguments. And speaking of arguments, one of their arguments is, if God exists, why there's so much suffering in this world? So what I have to say, what Quran I have to say is, God did not create this world on the principle of justice. You can harm people, you can do good to people. So it is a test of your free will. So the people who say there is a lot of suffering, the people are creating the suffering, not the God. And when it's come to the natural disaster, the disaster that came from God, there are disasters that come from God. So it is a reminder for the people that they have to die. In a large city, thousands of people die every single day, but there is no headline because they are scattered over a large area. But if a flood came and 1,000 people died, then it would become a headline, and suddenly all the people realize that they also have to die at some point of their life. So it is a reminder from God that they have to die. The life is given by the God, and if he wants, he can take at any minute. So these are all my thoughts about the atheism or theory of evolution on things like that. So feel free to comment your opinions on down to the comment section. So these all are my thoughts. So I've been making this video for a whole week because I have to study everything, and I did not used to talks this long, so it takes me, I think, a week to make this video. So I think this one is the last shooting. So hope you guys enjoyed this video, hope you guys like this video. So I'll see you in my next video.